My soon-to-be ex-husband, Ryan, 29, and I, 27, have been married for only 6 months, despite being together for 2 years. A few days ago, I spoke to a lawyer and officially filed for divorce because he sold something incredibly valuable to my family, an antique necklace that had been passed down for generations. It was a beautiful piece, crafted with intricate goldwork and rare gemstones, and had belonged to my great-grandmother. He knew how much it meant to me and my family, yet he still chose to sell it. Last week, when I noticed the necklace missing, I confronted him about it. He casually admitted that he had sold it to fund a luxury purchase, an expensive watch he had been eyeing for months. Since the necklace had an old-fashioned design and wasn't really his taste, he decided it was better to exchange it for something useful. He acted like it was no big deal, as if selling a family heirloom for a materialistic indulgence was a reasonable decision. I was furious, especially because my mother and grandmother were still alive, and if they found out, they would be devastated. I demanded that he return everything he had bought and buy the necklace back. It wasn't just jewelry, it was a part of my family's history. But to my shock, he doubled down. He told me it wasn't a mistake, but a deliberate choice. Apparently, he had never really liked the necklace from the moment I showed it to him. He kept quiet about it at first, but after we got married, he felt that since it was now in his possession, he had every right to do whatever he wanted with it. Selling it, in his mind, was completely justified. That was his reasoning, and he truly believed it was sound logic. But I wasn't having any of it. We had the worst argument we'd ever had, yelling at each other until my voice was hoarse. I demanded that he get the necklace back, no matter what it took, but he refused. He told me if I wanted it back so badly, I should track down the buyer and purchase it myself. I was so hurt and frustrated that I packed a bag and left. I checked into a hotel in the suburbs to clear my mind. He didn't stop me. In fact, he didn't even look up as I walked out, and since then, he hasn't reached out to me once. I waited for 2 days, hoping he'd at least try to talk to me, but he didn't. When I told my friends what had happened, they were horrified and immediately put me in touch with a good divorce attorney. By the 3rd day, after speaking with a lawyer, I blocked him on everything. Yesterday, after I received the official divorce papers, I signed them and went back home while he was at work. I wanted to make sure I was gone before he got back, so I skipped work myself, packed up my belongings, and left the divorce papers on the coffee table. Thankfully, my friends helped me move my things, storing them at their places until I find a new home. By the time I was finished, it was like I had never lived there at all. Later that evening, after Ryan came home, I started receiving messages and phone calls from his family telling me I was overreacting. They insisted that I should just talk to him, that I was throwing away our marriage over something petty, but I wasn't interested in hearing their excuses, so I blocked them too. Then, his friends started reaching out, calling me selfish and accusing me of being unreasonable. They also told me that, after I left, Ryan had apparently reached out to the jeweler to try and buy the necklace back because he felt guilty, but I didn't even give him the chance. So now they were painting me as the villain in the situation. And now I can't help but wonder, was I too quick to end things? Am I really overreacting by filing for divorce over this? Edit. None of my family members know about what's happening yet. I don't want them to stress over it, especially my grandmother, who originally owned the necklace. She's old, and if she finds out that Ryan sold something so important, it would absolutely devastate her. That's why I've been keeping it to myself while trying to negotiate with the jeweler to buy it back. Ryan had given me the jeweler's contact info when we were arguing, telling me that if I wanted the necklace so badly, I should buy it myself. But the problem is, the jeweler is asking for a much higher price than what Ryan sold it for. I've been trying to work out a deal, but to make things worse, Ryan is also trying to buy it back at the same time. The jeweler told me he would sell it to whoever came up with the money first, and if a third party offered more, he would sell it to them instead. I feel like time is running out, and I can't afford to lose the necklace forever. But the worst part is knowing that none of this would have happened if Ryan had just respected my family's history in the first place. Update 1. It's been 4 days since I first shared my story, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who commented. Your support really helped me feel like I wasn't crazy for doing what I did because, for a moment, I started second-guessing myself. His friends were relentless in making me feel like the villain in this situation, but thankfully, I didn't let their words get to me. I've now blocked all of his friends and family members because, after everything that has happened, I just don't want anything to do with them. This whole situation has taken such a toll on me mentally, and I need space to move forward. Ryan and I were together for years, and I never thought he would do something like this. I always knew he had expensive tastes. That's something I had accepted, but I never imagined he would cross this kind of line. And the the worst part? He acted like it was no big deal, like he hadn't done anything wrong. We've had arguments before. Every couple does. But this one was different. I saw a side of him I had never seen before. If, just 6 months into our marriage, he thought he could treat me like this, then what would the future have looked like? No, I refused to let him walk all over me and expect me to just accept it. And about the necklace, some people might think it's just jewelry, but to me and my family, it was so much more. It wasn't just something I owned. It was a connection to my great-grandmother and generations before her. Ryan knew that. I had made it clear from the very beginning that this was meant to stay in the family. You don't just sell something that holds deep sentimental value and then act like it's completely fine just because it was technically yours to sell. I wish I could say all of this to his family and friends, but honestly, I don't think it's worth the energy. As for Ryan, he still hasn't reached out to me personally, which is strange considering how desperate his friends and family seem. I know he has a burner account on social media that I haven't blocked, but he hasn't messaged me from there either, so I don't think he's actually trying to make things right. It feels more like he just wants to paint me as the bad guy for filing for divorce. At least, that's what it seems like right now. Now, about the necklace. After days of back and forth with the jeweler, I finally got an update. Apparently, Ryan hasn't responded to the jeweler's messages for the past 2 days, so maybe he's backed off. I don't know what's going on with him, and honestly, I don't care anymore. I told the jeweler I was willing to buy the necklace back at the price he was asking because, at this point, I just want it back no matter what. He agreed, and tomorrow, I'm going to his store to finalize the purchase. Once I have the necklace, I'll finally be able to tell my family what happened. They still have no idea about any of this. My mom has been asking why neither of us has been home and why Ryan hasn't been answering her calls, and apparently he moved out too. I didn't even know that. I assume he's staying with his parents or friends, but it doesn't matter. Him moving out makes things feel final, and I have a feeling he'll be hearing from his lawyer soon. Hopefully, we can just get this divorce over with quickly. I have this gut feeling that he won't contest it, and honestly, I hope he doesn't. I've been fair in my terms, and he has no reason to ask for anything more. I just want to put this chapter behind me. I'm already losing so much money trying to buy back something that should never have been sold in the first place. The last thing I need is a long, drawn-out legal battle. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm just hoping things go smoothly from here. I've already lost enough because of this mess. I just want to move forward. Update 2. Today, I finally went to the jeweler, wrote him a check, and bought back the necklace. He seemed pretty invested in my situation, almost too invested. He was chatty and definitely had a bit of a gossipy side. He told me he had never been in a situation like this before and found it all pretty interesting. Then, he mentioned that Ryan had suddenly blocked him. That part really caught my attention, especially since Ryan's friends have been trying to make it seem like he felt awful about what happened and was desperately trying to buy the necklace back. But I guess the moment he realized I wasn't coming back, he just gave up. It was all for show. He doesn't actually care. He just wants to make himself look better in this situation. That just confirms what I already believed. So honestly, I'm not surprised. After leaving the jeweler, I decided it was time to finally rip the band-aid off and tell my family everything. I was tired of keeping it from them, and now that I had the necklace back, at least that part of the ordeal was over. So I drove to my mom's house, sat my parents down, put my grandmother on FaceTime, and told them everything. They were completely shocked. Ryan had always come across as such a charming person, and no one ever expected him to pull something like this. My grandmother was relieved that I got the necklace back, but she was also furious that I had to buy it back with my own money. She told me that during the divorce, I should demand that Ryan reimburse me for it. I told her I'd think about it, but deep down, I knew it wasn't worth it. That would only lead to drawn-out negotiations and a legal battle I don't have the energy or the money for. These things can drag on forever, and I don't want to waste time fighting over something that would be difficult to prove in court. There was no formal agreement, no contract, just a basic understanding that Ryan completely disregarded, and unless I had a top-tier lawyer, it would be a waste of time. My parents understood that and didn't push the issue further, but after we hung up with my grandmother, they told me how disappointed they were with how this all turned out. They had always really liked Ryan. They never had any issues with him. He fit in so well with our family, and when we got married, my parents were overjoyed. He was like the missing piece to our family puzzle. And now, not even a year into our marriage, we were already getting divorced. I couldn't hold back my emotions anymore. I broke down crying, and my parents had to comfort me. Up until now, I hadn't let myself fully process everything. I had been too focused on handling the situation, keeping things together, and making sure I got my necklace back. But hearing my parents talk about how much they had believed in this relationship, how much they had believed in Ryan, just hit me hard, because they were right. Not even a year ago, I never could have imagined this happening. A few months ago, even a few weeks ago, I thought our marriage was solid. And now, here I am, filing for divorce. There's nothing I can do to change what happened, and that's the hardest part to accept. But the worst part, I know Ryan doesn't even think he did anything wrong. That's why he sent his family and friends after me, to make me feel guilty, to manipulate me into staying. The whole act of pretending to try and get the necklace back was just a performance. He never actually cared about fixing things. He just wanted to control the narrative and make himself look better. He doesn't understand how much this hurt me. He thinks I'm overreacting, and that's what stings the most. But after talking to my parents, I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my chest. They told me they were proud of me for standing up for myself and for my family, for not letting anyone, even someone I loved, walk all over me. And that was all the reassurance I needed, because they're right. If something hurts me, then it hurts me. And if he doesn't care that he hurt me, then maybe it's better for us to end this marriage now, before things get even worse. Now, I'm just waiting for him to respond to my divorce petition. I just hope he doesn't contest anything, because I don't need any more stress. He's already caused me enough trouble. I just want to move on. Update 3. It's been a few days since my last update, and I've been keeping myself busy. I had missed some work, so I had to make up for lost time. I even worked some overtime because, given my current situation, I couldn't afford to upset my employer. And in my free time, instead of resting, I was searching for an apartment near my workplace. Staying at a hotel just wasn't feasible long term. Luckily, I was able to lock in a place with a reasonable rent agreement, and I'm moving in next week. Focusing on the practical aspects of my life kept me distracted, which was a good thing. It meant I wasn't constantly thinking about Ryan and everything that had gone wrong. But then, last night, he called me. It was from a number I didn't have saved, so I answered without thinking. And when I heard his voice on the other end, I froze. I wasn't sure whether to stay on the line or just hang up, but I ended up staying, saying nothing, just listening. He didn't apologize. He just said he wanted to talk to me one last time. He admitted he had no right to ask, but he wanted to meet in person, to hand over the signed divorce papers, and have one final conversation to clear things up. Even when I stayed silent, he simply said he'd be at home in the afternoon if I decided to come. Then he hung up. I spent the rest of the night debating what to do, but this morning, I made my decision. Even if I didn't want to hear what he had to say, it was worth going just to get the divorce papers in person. And if I was being honest, a part of me was curious about what he thought was still left to say. So I went. When I walked in, the place was nearly empty. Only the furniture remained. But since the apartment was pre-furnished, that was expected. Our lease was ending at the end of the month, so it wouldn't be our home much longer. Ryan handed me the divorce papers first, but then he also handed me a check. I was confused until I saw the amount. It was a pretty significant sum. He explained that he had returned everything he bought using the money from the necklace sale, and since we were no longer together, he wanted to give the money back to me. It wasn't the full amount I had paid to the jeweler to buy the necklace back, so I pointed that out. He said he would cover the rest in installments over the next few months, but that this was all he could afford right now. I was fine with that. Honestly, I hadn't expected to get anything back, so this was more than I had hoped for. It felt awkward, but I thanked him, and that's when he finally apologized. He was already tearing up when he admitted that he never meant for things to spiral this badly, but it was too late to fix anything, and maybe it was best if we just let each other go. I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there, silent, as he kept talking. Ryan told me he had been feeling awful ever since I left. Even though his friends and family were on his side, he couldn't fully convince himself that he was right. Deep down, he knew he had made a huge mistake. He admitted that there were several times he wanted to reach out, but since I had blocked him, he was afraid I would reject him, and he didn't think he could handle that. So he just stayed away. Then he said something I wasn't expecting. He told me I deserved better, and that's why he thought this divorce was for the best. By then, he was crying, but he still finished what he had to say. And then, without waiting for a response, he turned and walked away. I just stood there in the living room, stunned. I sat on the couch, trying to process everything. I don't even know how much time passed before I heard his car start and drive away. And then I broke down. After a while, I finally left, and went back to the hotel. Tomorrow, I'll go to the bank and deposit the check. I've already spoken to my lawyer about the papers, and since there's nothing left to discuss, all that's left is to wait out the legal processing period. Once that's over, the divorce will be official. I thought it'd feel relief, but right now, I just feel empty. I know this feeling won't last forever. With time, I'll move on, but for now, it hurts, and I'm going to let it hurt because there's nothing else I can do. Update 4. I cashed the check today, and for some reason, it felt freeing. It was like closing a chapter I had been stuck in for too long. Ryan and I haven't spoken since our last conversation at the apartment, and honestly, I think I'm finally letting go. Holding on to all that anger and hurt won't do me any good. I just want to move on. I've already moved out of the hotel and into my new apartment. Thanks to my friends, I was able to get everything set up pretty quickly. I'm so grateful to have such supportive people around me. They've been checking in on me every few days, making sure I'm okay. And my parents, they've been my rock through all of this. I don't think I could have handled everything the way I have if it weren't for them. That's not to say I don't miss Ryan or that I don't feel bad about what happened, because I do. But life isn't going to pause for me while I process my feelings. I still have to go to work. I still have bills to pay. I still have responsibilities to keep up with. And honestly, having such a strong support system has made all the difference. In a few weeks, the divorce will be finalized, and after that, all the legal matters will be behind me. I've been thinking about taking a trip or doing something spontaneous, something to shake things up a bit. A change of pace feels necessary right now. I've talked to a couple of friends, and they're excited about the idea of traveling together, so maybe I'll take them up on it. By now, pretty much everyone knows that Ryan and I are no longer together thanks to his social media post. I'm not big on social media, so I didn't make any announcements, but he put out a statement, and word spread quickly. A lot of our mutual friends reached out, some just to check in, others just to gossip. But at least now, I don't have to explain anything to anyone, and for that, I'm grateful. At this point, I'm just focused on moving forward. Update 5. Hey everyone, my divorce was finalized earlier this week, and once again, Ryan called me from that same number to apologize one last time. But this time, instead of staying silent, I spoke. I told him that I wish things could have worked out between us, but it is what it is, and I wished him nothing but the best moving forward. He thanked me. Then, he hung up, and that was it. It hurts, but I think this is the closest we'll ever get to closure. I'm actively moving on with my life. As I mentioned in my last update, I'm heading on a trip with a couple of my friends in a few days, and I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to it for weeks, and now it's finally happening. It genuinely feels like the start of a new chapter, one that I'm ready for. Of course, I'm not completely over the past, but I can't go back. The only way is forward, and I'm hopeful this trip will help me step into that future with a fresh perspective. That being said, I don't think I'll be posting here again anytime soon. So I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who commented, supported me, and even reached out. You didn't have to, but you did. And the fact that complete strangers cared about my situation, that means a lot. So truly, thank you. I mean it. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on notifications so you never miss more shocking real-life stories like this. See you in the next one.